In this next part, we're going to talk about the reason why Ali ibn Abi Talib has many virtues. Why Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu has so many virtues. And I'd like to say here that this is related to the previous chapter, of course, because we're mentioning Ahl Sunnah that are mentioning Ali's virtues, intentionally mentioning Ali's virtues. And so this is somewhat relevant. It's not actually that essential to the series, to be honest with you. It's nothing much to do with Nawasib. But let's tackle it. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, radiallahu anhu, highlighted this matter when he said that Ali radiallahu anhu has the most virtues in terms of quantity when it comes to the companions. So when it comes to companions, Ali has the most quantity of virtues. This is mainly for two reasons. Since Ali radiallahu anhu, he outlived other caliphs, and he had enemies who openly fought and abused him. This was not the case with Abu Bakr and Umar, for example. That didn't happen. So the Imams of Ahl Sunnah, as you saw in previous sections, would intentionally seek areas of nawasib to narrate Ali's virtues. As for Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman, most of the nation loved them, and there weren't many Rawafid who publicly cursed them, especially since the Umayyads were in charge at the time and made sure to prevent this practice. So the Umayyads loved Abu Bakr and Umar. The Khawarij loved Abu Bakr and Umar. The majority of the nation, Ahl Sunnah, they loved Abu Bakr and Umar. And so nobody was really going and cursing or insulting Abu Bakr and Umar. So the scholars of Ahl Sunnah had no reason to go and narrate the virtues of Abu Bakr and Umar. And that's why they have less virtues, because there was no need to narrate their virtues. Whatever little quantity that was mentioned was sufficient for everybody. They didn't need it. They all knew that these guys, it's mutawatir, that Abu Bakr and Umar were really good people and the closest companions to the Prophet, and that they had superiority. You didn't need specific hadith to prove it. Even though, I mean, if you look in the books today, you can find a lot of their virtues, but still, we're mentioning why Ali has more, as opposed to why Abu Bakr and Umar, for example, have less. Uthman ibn Affan, radiallahu anhu, has less virtues as well. And the main reason for that is the government was Umayyad. So, and they weren't fabricating virtues for Uthman. Uthman had virtues and they were known. And nobody needed to narrate Uthman's virtues to refute the Rafidah, because, you know, the Rafidah didn't even dare to curse Uthman at that point. Because they cursed them, they would be killed. And they lived in Kufa, and Kufa was under Umayyad governors. So again, the reasons is actually pretty mainly political, and there are some other reasons, but this is the main reason. So when the Umayyad rule finished, though, so when the rule of the Umayyads finished, about the year 120 something, maybe 130 something, then the Rawafid increased in number. And this happened under Banu al-Abbas, the Abbasi Khilafah. The phenomenon of cursing the first three Khulafa became more apparent, whereas it was hidden before. However, at that time, most of the people who could narrate the virtues of Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman already died out of old age. So they were stuck with whatever virtues were already mentioned for these three. They couldn't bring more unless they fabricated. And these people were not known for fabricating. So the Imams of Sunnah utilized whatever was already reported from their virtues. You know, they couldn't bring more because the people, you know, that lived with Abu Bakr and Umar, they all died. Second reason is the Kufans, who were notorious for lying and fabricating reports in Ali's virtues, they went out of control. So other than the fact that it's a political thing, you also have the Shia of Kufa, who were just famously known, notoriously known for lying and making stuff up. And just open their books today. Open their books and see how much of the content is lies, even by their own admission. They wouldn't authenticate most of their books. It's just filled with conflicting stories. It's even reported by one of the Imams of Ahl Sunnah. I think it was Imam Ishaq bin Rahuya, or Rahaweh, as they say in Arabic. The Kufans, they concocted about 300,000 narrations in praise of Ali with false chains. 300,000. We're not going to get into this now, but I will possibly make a lecture just on how reliable are these people in the first place. So by default, he's going to have more virtues because his followers, his political party, Ali's political party, were just going out of their way to make stuff up. Well, we'll move on to the next chapter now is, do Sunnis narrate from Nawasib? That's an important question. Do Sunnis narrate from Nawasib? The people of Syria were those famous for Nasib, whereas the people of Iraq are famous for Tashayyu, right? Ahl Sunnah narrate a lot more from Iraqis than they do from Syrians, especially in their main books. Like if you open the main Sunni books, and if you look at the country of origin of most of these narrators, a lot of them are Iraqis, not Syrians. So by default, Ahl Sunnah narrate a lot more from the Shia than they narrate from the Nawasib. Also, early Syrian narrators are usually classed as weak. So Sunnis wouldn't narrate from Syrians because they were weak in narrating. And because they're weak, they didn't narrate from them. So you'd find more reliable Iraqi scholars, especially in the 6 main books of Ahl Sunnah. Ahl Sunnah selected who it is that they're narrating from. They didn't just go narrate from every single Iraqi out there, because Iraqis are themselves quite weak. But there's a lot more scholars among them. So Sunnis were able to narrate a lot more from Iraqis than the Syrians. And this is why you often find Shia narrators in the books of Ahl Sunnah, but you rarely ever find Nasibi narrators. Like, it's really rare to find a Nasibi narrator. A point to make is that historically speaking, Nawasib were always more reliable than Rawafid when it comes to narrating hadith. And this here, we're giving credit where credit is due. They were a lot more trustworthy than the Rawafid. This is because, as we said, Nawasib were 2 groups. The religious Nawasib are the Khawarij. And the Khawarij viewed lying as a cardinal sin that seals your fate in hellfire. This is their theology. So they were honest in spite of their negative views of Ali. They wouldn't lie. For the most part, they wouldn't lie. The Rafida, on the other hand, often lied to promote their political cause. It was a political party, that's all it was. The Shia of Ali was nothing more than a political party that's trying to push Hashemites into power. So they made stuff up to boost their claims. It even became a part of their theology that they can lie. Like taqiyya at the end of the day is what? They're lying. And they have reports in their books praising taqiyya. They'd openly lie to benefit their movement and madhab. Still, you'd find a Nasibi narrator every now and then in the books of Ahl Sunnah, but the scholars would never narrate from Nawasib and others that had. There are Sunni scholars that never narrated from Nawasib. Like, they viewed narrating from Nawasib as forbidden. That's from what I recall. And others had special criteria, since not all Nawasib are the same, as you know by now. Not all of them are the same. So some of them had special criteria. We'll mention some examples. Rabi'a bin Yazid used to verbally abuse Ali at all times, to the extent where Imam Abu Hatim al-Razi, who was from the scholars of Ahl Sunnah, Imam Abu Hatim al-Razi, rahmatullah alayhi, forbade narrating from him because he used to abuse Ali radiallahu anhu. And he was excessive in doing so, I might add. Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal radiallahu anhu was asked about narrating from the Khalifa Yazid ibn Muawiyah. So he said, we would not honor him by narrating from him. Wala karama. This is why you'll never find his narrations in the books. Like, try to look for a narration from Yazid. It's going to be very difficult. Imam of Ahl Sunnah, Yahya ibn Ma'in, rahmatullah alayhi, was asked about Umar bin Sa'd. This is Umar bin Sa'd bin Abi Waqqas, the person who led an army against Hussein alayhi salam. He said about him, unreliable. How can one of Hussein's killers be reliable? That is what he said. Ismail bin Sumaya, this man used to abuse Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu. And several scholars abandoned him due to this evil madhab, including Sufyan ibn Uyayna, rahmatullah alayhi. Imam Sufyan ibn Uyayna, he abandoned this guy. Hussein ibn Numayr was an extreme Nasibi. Imam ibn Abi Khaythama, rahmatullah alayhi, once entered upon him to hear his hadith because the guy was a big narrator. He said, I came to him but saw that he had grudges against Ali ibn Abi Talib, so I never visited him again. So these samples are just to give you a general idea of how Sunnis viewed the Nawasib. Yes, you will find Nasibi narrators, you will find Rafidi narrators, you'll find even some Zanadiqa sometimes, and some scholars narrate for different reasons. Sometimes scholars narrate for religious reasons, sometimes they narrate just to mention a story, just like they narrate about any other nation, just like they narrate about Hindus or they narrate about Zoroastrians. So it's not always for the same purposes. But bottom line is, you'll find a lot more Shia narrators in the books of Sunnah than you'll find Nasibi narrators, that's for sure.